Are you your own worst critic? If someone gives you a compliment, is your first reaction to disbelieve what you hear? Do disempowering beliefs such as, I'm not good enough, or it's my fault this terrible thing happened, and similar beliefs undermine your self-confidence and create a nonstop flow of negative self-talk? If you answer yes to any of these questions, please stay tuned. You're going to discover an easy way to change disempowering thought patterns resulting from outdated beliefs that no longer represent who you truly are today. Hello and welcome. I am your host, Stephen Carter. I've helped thousands of people move from stress to success over more than 4 decades using an array of holistic methods to include emotional freedom techniques, thought field therapy, hypnosis, neuro-linguistic programming, meditation, and many more. In this episode, you're going to learn how to combine power questions with positive word affirmations for greater self-compassion. This episode is going to be included in 2 different podcasts, one being Easy Stress Cures, and the second, Positive Word Affirmations. I'm including this episode in both podcasts because the information you'll be hearing is relevant for listeners in both shows. Before we get into the process, a brief word about this and my other podcasts, all of which are available at stressreliefradio.com. If you've listened to other episodes of either of these shows, you may notice there's a difference in sound. Unfortunately, the Mac computer I normally use to record podcasts decided it was time to ride off into the sunset where computers go when their days of service are over. I've been using a combination of iPad and a Windows machine to record. However, all of the recording and editing software I normally use isn't available, meaning you may notice this and other shows sound different compared to those that you've heard in the past. It's going to be several weeks before I'm able to purchase and set up a new Mac computer, so consequently it's going to be several weeks before I'm able to again record using my normal recording processes and editing tools. In this episode, you're going to learn how to combine power questions with positive word affirmations for greater self-compassion. This is going to be a 3-step process. Step number 1, discover and apply the self-compassion power questions process. Step 2, apply 1 or more releasing affirmations. Step 3, apply 1 or more positive energy forms as affirmations to support self-compassion. Words do translate to energy in the body. We understand cognitively the various words that we use, but we can also feel the energy of those words. Words have an energy, and that energy is felt in the body. We're going to harness the power of the energy of those words to help us transform disempowering patterns in our body and our behavior and indeed our thinking. We're going to use the energy forms created by the energy of the words that we speak. Before we get into the actual process, a quick discussion about why we experience disempowering thought patterns about our self-worth. There can be many reasons why we engage in such disempowering patterns of thinking. Statements from parents, from teachers, and from other authority figures we hear as children can certainly play a role. Our 6-year-old brains weren't capable of independently judging whether words spoken by an adult or even other children about us or about how the world works were valid. Another source of disempowering thinking can be our ego, or more accurately, the subconscious or semi-conscious image we hold of an ideal self that is part of our ego. When something we say or do does not align with that ideal image, our self-critic takes center stage and begins to chronicle how we failed in a given situation, and for good measure, it brings multiple past failures to the party in the off chance we aren't taking seriously enough the present so-called failure. Regardless of why these disempowering thoughts and self-talk show up, they drain our self-confidence and they diminish our sense of self-worth. This is especially the case when disempowering thoughts and self-talk become chronic, when they become chronic everyday patterns. Can we change these patterns and create more consistent, empowered thoughts about ourselves so we can live more happy, healthy, and empowered lives? Yes, we can. And that brings us to the application of power questions and affirmations for greater self-compassion. This process involves 3 primary steps. Step 1, discover and apply the self-compassion power question process. Step 2, apply 1 or more release affirmations. Step 3, choose and apply 1 or more positive word affirmations to support self-compassion. Begin by making a conscious choice to show yourself more self-compassion. To do that, I encourage you to use a written question and answer protocol using a bound journal or a notebook. For most of us, physical writing is better than typing, but please use whatever method you will consistently apply. Set aside at least 20 minutes of uninterrupted time, mute your phone, quiet social media apps, disengage from any other online or environmental distractions. I suggest spending 2 or 3 minutes calming your mind and body with diaphragmatic breathing or other stress-releasing activity. When you're ready, turn attention to choosing and then answering questions that will lead you to insights about your belief and stress response patterns. Here are some questions you can use to begin your journey to consistent self-compassion. Question 1, what are my recurring patterns of self-criticism? What are my recurring patterns of self-criticism? And what are the triggers that set those patterns in motion? What are the triggers that set those patterns in motion? Next, ask yourself, does self-criticism help me in any way? If so, how? Does self-criticism help me in any way? If so, how? Next, am I better off being self-critical or being self-compassionate? Am I better off being self-critical or being self-compassionate? While the answer to this question may seem obvious, you may be surprised to discover you do feel resistance to being self-compassionate. If you detect that, ask yourself, where do I feel that resistance in my body? Where do I feel that resistance in my body? If you can, place 1 or both hands in that area, connect to that felt sense, and repeat the words, soften, soften, soften and flow. It's only energy. Where does it want to go? Soften and flow. You may notice that felt sense moves to some other place in your body. Follow that felt sense and repeat the same process until it simply leaves your body or dissipates entirely. Your next question, how can I create a consistent habit of challenging, disempowering beliefs and self-talk when those arise? How can I create a consistent habit of challenging disempowering beliefs and self-talk when those arise? Your next question: if I was talking with someone I cared about who consistently engaged in disempowering self-talk, what would I say to help them feel better? And finally, the most important question of all: how can I consistently be kinder and more compassionate to myself? How can I consistently be kinder and more compassionate to myself? When you've answered the questions we just talked about, or you have created your own questions, and you've answered those as best you can, it's time to apply one or more release affirmation. Your primary release affirmation will be: I choose to release any and all attachments to any and all disempowering beliefs, assumptions, or opinions that have influenced me in the past, and remove the energy of that or those beliefs from my entire neurology and energy system. I choose to release any and all attachments to any and all disempowering beliefs, assumptions, or opinions that have influenced me in the past, and remove the energy of that or those beliefs from my entire neurology and energy system. I suggest repeating this releasing affirmation out loud, and after repeating it, sit quietly and simply notice. Simply allow the affirmation to flow through your energy system, through your neurology, and feel the power of that affirmation. As you answered the questions we talked about earlier, if you've identified specific beliefs you know are not true or no longer true, create a release affirmation specifically for that or those beliefs. Use the model: I choose to release the belief, fill in the blank. I choose to release the belief and remove the energy of that belief from my entire neurology and energy system. You let that process and feel the wisdom and the power of that affirmation as it does its work. Our next step is to choose and apply a positive energy form to support self-compassion. What is a positive energy form? It's an affirmative statement phrased in an energy framework. One way to identify the positive energy form or forms that your subconscious knows are needed is to ask out loud, what positive energy form or forms will support me in extending consistent self-compassion? What positive energy form or forms will support me in extending consistent self-compassion? After asking the question, be silent and wait for your subconscious to offer up one or more positive energy forms. Examples might be self-worth energy, or self-acceptance energy, confident energy, loving energy, or even self-compassion energy. Let's take self-acceptance energy as an example. Your positive affirmation statement could be, I choose to flow self-acceptance energy through my entire energy system. I choose to flow self-acceptance energy through my entire energy system. Place both hands to heart, right over left or left over right. Either is fine. Close your eyes if you can do so safely. Hands to heart. Feel the energy in your heart. And simply repeat what you could really call a mantra. And that could be a phrase such as self-acceptance energy, flowing through my entire body, my entire energy system. Repeat that phrase with both hands to heart, with love and compassion and commitment. What do you do if you notice disempowering self-talk? As you apply this method, early on you may become more aware of disempowering self-talk. When you detect any such internal chatter, say out loud, if possible, "Stop this nonsense. Stop this nonsense. I choose to be self-compassionate. Stop this nonsense. I choose to be self-compassionate." Really connect in your heart with the truth and the commitment to that affirmation. Then allow 3 loving breaths and end on the final exhalation with the word peace. The suggested questions, release affirmations, and positive energy forms, that list is not exhaustive, but what I've shared here will help you begin a journey to consistent, deep self-compassion. The more you engage in the self-compassion power questions process, the more positive changes you're likely to experience. If you have any questions about what I've shared in this episode, please be in touch. I can be reached by email at cartermethod@gmail.com. To listen to previous episodes of the podcast you're listening to now, visit my website at stressreliefradio.com, stressreliefradio.com. If you have not yet subscribed or follow, please do so. That way you will never miss an episode. Until our next visit together, your host here, Stephen Carter, wishing for you and your loved ones blessings in abundance.